Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, my colleagues, and fellow citizens. 50 years ago this month, a simple banner was hung from a third-story window in Harlem. It read, "March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, August 28th." Organizers were ambitious. They had plans for nearly 100,000 people to come to Washington. But when the day came, more than 2.5 times that number showed up here in Washington, stepping off buses and out of train doors and entering on foot as far away as Alabama. And those swells of humanity converged on this great mall, singing, "Woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom." It was a day for the ages. Today, you and I have the honor of paying tribute to this event. And let us start by acknowledging the debt that we owe to all those men and women. And let's start by thanking John Lewis. And then let us challenge ourselves to recall the larger story. In a way, it all begins right here in this old House chamber. This is where a freshman representative from Illinois, Mr. Lincoln, files a bill giving the president the power to emancipate the slaves of the District of Columbia. It goes nowhere. But the New York Tribune takes note of this strong but judicious enemy to slavery. Come 1863, this backbencher is now president of the United States, and he judiciously signs a national proclamation of emancipation. And he says, "I can only trust in God that I have made no mistake." And you would know it, a century later, Reverend King begins his address at the March on Washington by invoking that very proclamation while standing in the shadow of that very president. Of course, things are never nearly that tidy. Between those two turning points lies chapters of struggle by ordinary Americans committed to the promise that all men are created equal. Among them are Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, whose statues we've dedicated this year. Parks said no because she was tired of giving in, and Douglass, who escaped slavery to become its most eloquent opponent. She would go on to walk with King and Lewis. He would advise Lincoln. He served as a tireless shepherd for the proclamation, and she was introduced at the march as a freedom fighter. This is a story of how a president, a slave, a seamstress, and a minister locked arms across a period of time. A story that shakes us forward and shakes us free. A story with room enough for each of us to press for some cause, some dream bigger than ourselves. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to the United States Capitol.